Welcome back to the program. Frank Frangie, Hayes Carline with you, and what a pleasure to welcome in our pal Josh Pate. Nobody knows college football better. You know him as Late Kick. Josh joined us on the program. We'll tell you all about some of his new stuff going on with CBS HQ and other places. Josh, thanks for joining us, man. How are you?
I'm okay, but I imagine if I were to get closer to the epicenter down there, things don't sound like they're going so good.
Oh, my goodness.
It's brutal.
My goodness. I mean, yeah, there's only two teams within a couple hours of here. They're not doing well.
We were going to take 3 month sabbaticals.
We needed to. All right, let's start in Gainesville. And you know this stuff, and you know the people in it. Man, how shocked are you that they were that bad? Miami's good, and maybe Miami was going to beat them. They were a 2-point favorite. Josh, how surprised were you that the Gators were that bad Saturday?
You know, that's very, very well phrased, the way the question was, because it's not losing the game. I mean, when you've got two, at least perceptionally, two improving programs, they play each other. Someone's got to lose. It doesn't automatically mean that everything you believed was false. And so I think most of us, myself included, I picked Miami to win the game. But when I picked Miami to win the game, I'm thinking there's a lot of positive to be taken from it in the aftermath. If you're Florida, I'm thinking tight game, one possession, 10 points, either way if there's a late score. And that would have been acceptable, if not palatable. However, the way it plays out, there's this threshold. You guys know this. You've watched this stuff longer than I have. There's this threshold that a result gives you, especially early in the season when you're questioning your coach already. And past that threshold, if the result's on the other side of it, it almost feels like point of no return type stuff. And also, you start to ask, well, what was I fed all spring and summer? Because sometimes the media hypes you up and the program's been quiet. But in this case, folks around Florida were very excited, and they were, not shy about touting how improved they felt like they were, the changes they've made, the investment. I sat down with Billy in the spring, and he said, this feels like the year where it's fair to judge us. Well, all right. Now, we're one game in, so maybe they rattle off 5 or 6 in a row, but to say the least, they're on the clock now. There are no more excuses.
No doubt about it. And obviously the Gators can say it was just one game. Florida State cannot say that. They've played poorly now twice. Josh, what are their biggest issues, and are they fixable?
Short term, no. I think that's a dead team. Long term, yeah, they're fixable. I just think we're in an era now. We are not 15 or 20 years into the transfer portal NIL era. So it was always going to be bumpy. We just didn't know who it was going to be for. And so you want to talk about bumpy, you want to talk about experiencing all levels of the portal spectrum. Mike Norvell has felt it. Norvell comes in and leans on the portal, as he should have, to jumpstart his program. They never did the shift, though, over towards majority high school recruiting. They are not a high-level high school recruiting outfit right now. They have to be that. And I think last year probably created a lot of false sense of security and confidence that, hey, we could just portal every year. We can just do that every year. And it's so feast or famine. And I know that's the talking point down there. I know I'm not revealing anything that a lot of other Florida State fans aren't already talking about. But how do you fix it? Well, you don't fix it overnight. They still got to go through 10 more games this season. And it may just be that this year's a failed experiment, and you didn't have to wait until November to find out. Well, in the interim, okay, 2024 is going to be what it's going to be. How much change can I see in that 2025 recruiting cycle between now and signing day? Because a lot of it's already baked in. So is there a lurch? Is there a hard shift in that sort of sector? Because that's how you fix it. I know in year 5 no one wants to hear the word rebuild, but I don't really care what they want to hear. The way to fix it is they have to rebuild through high school recruiting, point blank, whether that sounds like it makes sense in year 5 or not.
Josh Pate with us, talking college football. Late Kick Josh from CBS Sports HQ. All right, but let's wrap up Florida and FSU. We want to get to some other teams. Mike Norvell's got a long contract. He'll figure it out, or he won't, but it'll happen in time. Billy Napier does not. On the hot seat, there's already a buzz going on, Josh. Oh, my goodness, how long this guy got? Is it going to happen before October? What are you hearing? What are your thoughts? If they get that brutal schedule, as everybody knows, if they start 1-2, 1-3, 1-4, is he out quickly? Should he be? What's your read on that?
I can tell you, talking to some folks inside that part of the industry, the expectation is he's not long for that job.
Yeah.
I mean, I pull for the guy, so I hope they're wrong,
right.
But I can only tell you what I hear. So I I know there's a lot of due diligence that's been done, and frankly, there are some guys out there. There are some pretty decent names out there, actually, in the coaching world. Some that would be on your radar, some totally out of left field, that have their eye on the Florida job and have for a while. There's a curiosity, which surprises me, amongst some people in the coaching market about whether the Florida job is on par with Georgia, Alabama, LSU, A&M, Texas, the perceived elite jobs in the conference. Now, when I hear that, I look sideways at folks because I think it is, but I'm not up for that job. And I also don't do the level of due diligence on this sort of thing that they may. So, yes, there's an expectation that ultimately you're trending in a direction that's irreversible. Whether that is remains to be seen or not. But then the follow-up is when you start putting together your list, there are a lot of guys who already have pretty good jobs where you'd have to do some work to convince them that the Florida job is a significant step up from where they already are.
Who are some of the off-the-radar guys that maybe not even for Florida, but you just maybe that fans aren't used to hearing that you think could be in line for some of these big jobs?
Well, this is the part that sucks because the trade-off for being fed the information is keep your mouth shut on the information.
Fair.
Yeah.
To which I almost get mad when that happens, and I say, well, don't even tell me, because that's worse. Like, can I at least call my mom and tell her?
I totally get it. And I think you made a great point earlier about how the loss happened, because like LSU was disappointed in losing to USC, but there were a lot of positives there for LSU moving forward.
I think so. It's funny you mentioned some of those coaching names out there. The one at LSU would be one that would be totally off the radar that you wouldn't think would be in play, but would. You didn't hear that from me. But I watched LSU and I watched USC. To me, was the story of that game. LSU underachieving was not necessarily a huge story to me. I mean, I do my own numbers. I didn't bump LSU down at all. I think maybe a quarter of a point in power rating totality. I flat out had to see USC be that defensively improved to believe it, and they were, at least through one game sample size. And the other thing about that, if you guys think about this, I mean, those two defenses were terrible last year, obviously, and so they come into week one. If I were to promise you were going to get pretty high-level quarterback play from Moss and from Garrett Nussmeier, and that game was going to stay under 50, you would have thought, well, they must have called the thing in the middle of the third quarter. Something must have happened. The roof must have leaked. There's no way. Those two defenses are playing a full four with good, efficient quarterback play on the other side. But they're both defensively that upgraded, which just goes to show you can never overhype coaching hires too much. Coaching hires mean everything. New coordinator hires, and both of them on that side of the ball, completely cleaned house. Kelly brought in the guys from Missouri. Lincoln brought in the guys from over at UCLA across town. They're largely playing with the same players they were terrible with last year. Coaching is such a huge deal in this sport.
Josh Pate with us. And by the way, Josh, since you didn't say it first, I will not say it second, but I would not be surprised if Brian Kelly's in play for another blue blood job. From what I'm hearing, it's funny you said that, but we'll see how that plays out, whether it's Florida or wherever. Don't be shocked with what Josh just didn't say. Don't be surprised by it. Georgia, Clemson. I thought that was way more about Georgia than it was about Clemson. I think Georgia's really good. I don't know. Clemson's not the 10 or 11 win team we came to know, I don't think, Josh. But I just think Georgia's just so good. What do you think?
They are. I took it as a little bit of both. I am not someone who has watched Clemson for a long time who's willing to just say, well, Georgia does that to a lot of teams. Georgia does do that to a lot of teams. Clemson is not supposed to be a lot of teams.
Yeah.
Clemson's supposed to be one of the 5 best in the country. And I know we've waned a little bit from that, but okay, they're still supposed to be one of the 7 to 10 best in the country. Well, apparently we've waned from that as well. And I don't really care in a watered-down ACC if they can go 10-2 in conference play. I really don't care, because that shouldn't be the standard over there. The standard should be we've got the athletes, maybe not to match you man for man, but guys, they never recruited heads up with Alabama. They beat them twice in national title games because they recruited well enough. They loaded up that defensive line. They had star quarterback play, and now they kind of have one of those things. They definitely don't have the other thing, and I think the hidden second part to this is while everyone's talking about Dabo and not using the portal and how much that would have meant or wouldn't have meant against Georgia, their offense is pedestrian. It has been for a long time. The Garrett Riley hire while it moved the needle headline-wise, was not viewed as a game changer behind the scenes in the industry. It just wasn't, which is mildly surprising to me, but that's the reality of it. And so they're still stagnant. They're still unimaginative over there, which I always thought was an overrated term in play calling, but I kind of see it bleed through with Clemson. So it's not a terrible program. It will never be a terrible program or even an average program under Dabo. But if they fall back to just being pretty good, which means on average 8 or 9 wins per year, how long do you float there before you decide, like Georgia did with Mark Richt, good enough is not enough, it's time for us to make a change?
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see. How about Texas at Michigan? What are some storylines you'll be focusing in on when you watch that?
Well, this is the one we're going to Saturday. I have about 19 different reasons to believe Texas will out-athlete them and will pull away from them. But I have like 6 or 7 ideas floating in the back of my head that gives me pause on that. One of them is I cannot get out of my mind the running back injuries that Texas had in camp and how Michigan prides itself in turning an offense one-dimensional. And if Texas is turned into a one-dimensional outfit, I have watched Michigan for 3 straight years, this defense for 3 straight years, go against an Ohio State team with racehorse after racehorse, first-round pick after first-round pick at receiver, and totally throw a crowbar in the bicycle spokes. So here we are again. And Quinn Ewers has got all kind of weaponry, and Will Johnson can only cover one of them at the time. I believe in all this. Everyone's saying this. I'm saying it too. I'm just saying I know how this game works as well, and I have seen someone blow someone out in week 1 and the other team struggle in week 1 and they meet in week 2, and you got progression and regression to the mean. Guys, I think the big mistake here, and they're just going to have to prove me wrong, the big mistake is folks think if this game is a fist fight, that automatically means edge Michigan. And I believe Texas has recruited and developed the kind of athlete that should be totally comfortable getting into a fight. Now, that's the only way Michigan can win. Texas can win a shootout, but Texas ought to feel comfortable winning a fist fight. Like, Texas has the kind of athlete that should relish rolling their sleeves up and getting into a fight with a team like Michigan. Are they that? That's the story we get to find out Saturday.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. Final thing for you, Josh. That's the best game of the weekend. A sneaky good game, and maybe it's because I'm mired down here in the South, is this Tennessee-NC State game. Carter Finley can be sneaky loud at times. Tennessee's on the road. Tennessee looks like they've got another good offense.
This was the Charlotte game.
Oh, I'm my bad. This is Charlotte, not Carter Finley. Thank you. But Tennessee is playing. They're both ranked teams. Tennessee can go really fast. Is that a good game, or does Tennessee roll them?
So my gut instinct is Tennessee by double digits, but I will say this. We're looking at Nico right now, and he's going to be a star, and he probably already is a star. Early in quarterback careers in college football, when we see a guy and he looks invincible, that's not always what opposing defensive coordinators see. And so what you get to find out is there a flaw in that kid's game that we can't see that they can? My suspicion is knowing NC State defensively, and that's a really, really underrated defensive coordinator and support staff. Knowing that profile of that team like I do, even though the talent is down a notch on that side of the ball, what they can do is just blitz him all night. And it may be that they get burned by that, and we tune in, and Tennessee's up 28-3. But you've got to find out how a young quarterback performs against pressure. And there is no team in the ACC on average that brings pressure more frequently than NC State. And so if it goes sideways, I think it goes sideways because the turnover margin goes sideways for Tennessee. If it's played straight up, Tennessee should roll them. Tennessee should be an SEC championship contender this year. If they've got that level quarterback play and their defense is as upgraded as they think it is, they should be a contender. But I'm telling you, NC State folks have had this thing circled. It is a Super Bowl for them. It's just another game for Tennessee. They think they're really upgraded at receiver at NC State. And so they think that the weakness of this Tennessee defense is secondary. So they think they match up good with them. I'll watch the game. I agree with you. It's sneaky good. But if it goes sideways for Tennessee, those would be a couple of reasons why. I don't think it will, but if it does, that's why it would happen.
It's going to be an awful lot of fun to watch. Josh Pate talking college football. Late Kick Josh on Twitter. You see him on CBS Sports HQ. And Josh, before we let you go, you know how much we think of your work. We love having you on. Tell us about the YouTube show, Josh Pate College Football, a Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, I believe. Tell us about that.
Yeah, we changed the name because I wrapped up negotiation with CBS, and we took ownership of the channel and the podcast feed. And so I'm looking on the sheet of paper. It's funny, the legalese says Josh Pate's College Football Show. So I said, why don't we just call it this? So we just changed the name to Josh Pate's College Football Show. It's the easiest thing in the world to remember.
Right.
And we do it live, like you said, Sunday night, Tuesday night, Thursday night. We'll do one tonight at 8 Eastern. But if you're living your life and you want to tune in the next morning, it's right there on replay on the YouTube channel. It's in the podcast feed, wherever you get your podcast. So at your convenience, we appreciate folks watching or listening.
You do a great job. We'll be checking it out. Josh, thanks for spending some time, man. Take care, buddy.
I appreciate it, guys.
Hey guys, Taylor Dahl here. Thanks so much for checking out our 1010XL Florida Gators page. If you're looking for more Florida content, subscribe now. But if you're looking for some professional football, NFL content, head over to our 1010XL Jaguars page.